نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. يروي الشيخان فيما اتفقا عليه من حديث عبد الله بن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال, the hadith tonight is a collection of both Imam Bukhari and Muslim, narrated to us by Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما. And I have to say, when it comes to Ramadan, it's one of my favorite hadith. It's more of his Ibn Abbas's description of the Prophet ﷺ than it is anything that he said ﷺ. It's nothing he said, it's really more Ibn Abbas's description. Within the theme of Ramadan, I think it's something worth, and it's very relevant to the time that we're in, when there's a lot of people around us in the world who are in need of our help. So this is a good hadith to kind of emulate. So this is what Abdullah ibn Abbas said. قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أجود الناس. The Prophet ﷺ was indeed the most generous of all people. He had never seen in his life anyone who was even remotely close to how generous he was alayhi salatu wasalam. There's a hadith you find in collecting Imam Ahmad and Nasa'i and others, and it has a authentic generation, where the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam would give a man on the day of Hunayn so much wealth. He gave him almost his full sahm. The Prophet alayhi salam, sahm meaning whatever it is he would take in terms of the loot or the bounty of that battle. So he gave this man his full sahm, like everything that he was supposed to take home with him, which is a lot of sheep, enough to fill like a small valley between two hills. So he gave it to him. So the man walks away with it. The Prophet ﷺ goes home with nothing, basically. And this man would say something. He would tell his people, "Aminu bi Muhammad." Go back and accept Islam. فَإِنَّ مُحَمَّدًا. This is what he said. فَإِنَّ مُحَمَّدًا يُعْطِي عَطَاءَ مَنْ لَا يَخْشَى الْفَقْرِ. Muhammad gives as if he has no fear of poverty. As if he has no worry, financial worries. As if he doesn't think about money at all. As if money is not on his radar in terms of how much do I need to have in the bank account and enough in the plan for later and then retirement tickets. يُعْطِي عَطَاءَ مَنْ لَا يَخْشَى الْفَقْرِ. He gives as if he has no fear of being poor one day. Which is the perfect description of him, and it's impossible to actually achieve. But this is what this man felt, that this guy doesn't seem to care. And he didn't, alayhi salatu wasalam. He didn't. So كان أجود الناس. He was the most generous of people. قال وكان أجود ما يكون حين يلقاه جبريل في رمضان. فيلقاه جبريل في رمضان كل ليلة حتى ينسلخ يعرض عليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم القرآن. So he said, and the most generous he would ever be alayhi salatu wasalam was in Ramadan. When he would meet Jibreel, and Jibreel would come and meet him every night, and the Prophet ﷺ would recite the Quran to him, like everything that's been revealed so far, he would revise it with Jibreel alayhi salam. And that's how the Prophet ﷺ knew he was going to pass away after the 10th year, because Jibreel came twice, like he would revise the juz' twice with him alayhi salatu wasalam, so he knew this is probably the end, because he broke the habit. So Jibreel would come every night and recite with him, and the Prophet ﷺ would revise the Quran with him, so he would be very generous out of the barakah, because he knows Jibreel is coming. So this is a lot of barakah coming to him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the connection, it's the holy connection, the Holy Spirit is coming. So he would go and he would give as shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as a way to show gratitude for the fact that he's getting this opportunity. قال فكان إذا لقيه جبريل أجود من الريح المرسلة. صلى الله عليه وسلم. فإذا لقيه جبريل, when he would meet Jibreel during Ramadan, كان أجود بالخير, he was more generous when it came to giving khayr, whatever he had, من الريح المرسلة, than sent winds. In Arabic, rih al-mursala are winds that are sent with filled clouds so that they get rain. Now, maybe people in the West don't appreciate that one too much, but if you come from any part of the world, any other part of the world, then filled clouds are a big deal. And whatever wind brings them is the wind that you are very happy with. So the Prophet ﷺ the description, كان كالريح المرسلة. It was like sent wind, just bringing khayr with him, loaded of khayr, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's how he was. And this is not really him telling us, be generous in Ramadan. This is how he was. He was generous in Ramadan. He showed that generosity around that month and throughout that month, and he gave as much as he possibly could, even though he had very little, alayhi salatu wasalam. It's a reminder for all of us to do the same, whether you're giving from everything. And I think I'm going to change my way of saying this, because I usually say this in a way that I think is wrong. So I usually tell people, whether you have this or you have that, and be generous with everything you've got. It's not whether you have this or you have that. Be generous with what you have. Be generous with all that you have. You have wealth, be generous with your wealth. You have time, be generous with your time. You have expertise, be generous with your expertise. You have emotions, be generous with those as well. You have ibadah, be generous with all that you have, proportionately to how much you have of it. But you can't choose a lane and say, well, I don't have a lot of money, so I'm going to just be generous only with my time. No, you have some money. So you have to be somewhat generous too. Like no one can exempt themselves from some portion of generosity. And this is probably, I'm probably a little bit to blame in how I always say this. You can't say, I'm too busy, I'll be generous with my time. No, with my money. No, be generous with your money, you have to. But you also have to be generous with your time. Figure it out, find time. No one can say, I am not going to be generous with this part of myself. No, you have to be generous with all parts of yourself, proportionately to how much extra you have of it. Proportionately to how much extra you have of each of it. But you still have to be generous with that which you have. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. He could have said, I am giving my life, I don't have to give my money. And I wouldn't have blamed him. But he still did. And actually, this hadith is talking about his generosity wealth-wise. This was not talking about his generosity time-wise and emotion. No, with wealth-wise. Like he would make sure he had so he could give. He'd make sure that he made so he could give. Alayhi salatu wasalam, had something to give. And I think that's something that's worth maybe thinking about. We owe it to be generous with all that we have, proportionately to how much we have of it. يروي الشيخان فيما اتفقا عليه من حديث ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أجود الناس وكان أجود ما يكون في رمضان حين يلقاه جبريل فكان يلقاه جبريل في رمضان كل ليلة حتى ينسلخ فيعرض النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم القرآن فكان إذا لقيه جبريل أجود بالخير من الريح المرسلة. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. الحمد لله لا إله إلا